Hey bro, if you're a young entrepreneur, chances are you really struggle with this problem. But every single time you go to do deep work, you randomly open YouTube. Maybe it's like 25 minutes after starting, and then you scroll for the next 2 hours. You get into this mindless scrolling phase where you want to do the work, but you can't. And by the time you finish scrolling, you've got no time to do any more deep work, and you're left with a terrible self-image because you know you should have been working. I finally figured out why people have a YouTube addiction, and it is not what you're expecting. Because I've had this problem for ages. I've had this problem for like over a year. Every single time I go to do deep work, I always just end up going to YouTube. Over the past few months, I've finally figured out how to actually solve it, and I want to share it with you. And the weird thing is, it's so unbelievably fast and simple. You could literally follow this method in your sleep and still get the same results you want. Just to show you some proof, I don't want to boast about this because it really isn't nothing to boast about. Everyone should be able to work this much and not really have any resistance stopping them. But I've gone from basically brain rot, being able to focus for a few minutes and then getting distracted, to being able to focus for 8 hours a day. This is really the deciding factor to whether you become successful with your business. Because if you don't have this ability, someone else does, and they're going to completely destroy you, okay? So I really want you to have this ability, and this is what's going to happen in this video. So here's what you can learn to break out of this YouTube jail, but you keep on going on it subconsciously and you don't want to. So the first part of this video is going to be about how to actually break out of the YouTube minefield and how to destroy the mindless triggers and make it to promised land, so you actually make it out alive and get out of this stupid YouTube jail. And the second part of this video, you're going to learn to break the ankles of your own brain, and basically this consists of how to interrupt that habit process and gain insane self-control. I know this is amazing wording, break the ankles of your own brain. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I'm going to get straight into the video. We're going to move on to phase 1 first. So like I said, step 1 is all about removing the minefields and the random impulses you get when you're trying to focus, and basically this is removing the triggers from YouTube. And the first thing I want you to know is that YouTube itself is not the problem. YouTube is simply just a symptom of the main problem, which is our attentional space, okay? So you're probably really confused about this, like I would be too, to be honest, but I'll go into it in more depth. And you probably can relate to this. Before you even start working and trying to focus, your brain is just like, yeah man, let's go and watch YouTube, 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 YouTube. It's just flooded with the word YouTube. You're thinking about the next Mr. Beast video before it's even out yet. And obviously you can't really expect your brain to focus when this is happening every single minute of every single day. You wake up and immediately scroll on your phone, and by the time you want to work, YouTube has already took all of the attentional space you want and need to do that deep work you wanted to do. I cannot really explain the importance of this, because if you do not solve this problem where you're going on YouTube for 3 hours a day mindlessly, that adds up, and eventually you're spending thousands of hours every single year. But you don't even remember what you're doing, you're just mindlessly watching random content. And the funny thing I like to say with this is, you will not work when you've literally just come off a scrolling marathon. Let's just imagine you're in this race right now and you're doing your first marathon. It's super hard, your legs are basically broken, doing it David Goggins style, and you're just pushing through the pain. And as soon as you finish this scrolling marathon, you say to yourself, yeah, let's go and do some deep work. Let's go on work on a new book, for example. Bro, you're not going to work on that. Your brain is completely fatigued. Well, that's basically what's happening in your brain every single time you go to do deep work, because YouTube has already sapped up all of the energy inside that we need to focus on our work. But the thing is, when we actually get rid of every other thing that is stimulating and more attractive than the work, we give our brain no choice but to focus. Like, there's a question I've kind of come up with while I was making this video, and it is, would you rather watch paint dry or work on your business? I would rather work on my business and not really watch paint dry. That is so boring. Like, I don't really want to be this guy for 5 hours. So the main goal we really should strive for is making the work the most stimulating thing we can do. Otherwise we will get distracted. So bro, we finished the first part of the video. Well, almost finished it. We're just going to go through the actionable steps. But these are the actionable steps I want you to do for this part of the first... What the hell? What did I just say? These are the first action steps I want you to do. First, I want you to install a website blocker that I've linked below, and this basically turns YouTube into a blank page. So when you go on YouTube, there's no videos, there's not even a search bar, there's no home page, there's no subscriptions. It's just you and a blank page. And the next thing I want you to do is log out of YouTube and any other social media device. So this can work for anything like Instagram, for example. And once you've done that, I want you to put your phone on grayscale. So normally on every single phone, if you go into the settings, I don't know if it's like appearance, accessibility, after that, turn your phone off and put it in another room. Now, the reason why I've told you to do all these random weird actual step that you probably wasn't really expecting is we want to make the work the most attractive thing, and all of these distractions super hard to do. So the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, he says one of the things to actually break bad habits is we have to make it difficult, but that by far is the most important thing we have to do to actually get rid of this YouTube addiction. We have to make it as difficult as we can possibly make it so our brain doesn't act on it, because the thing you have to realize is our brain takes the path of least resistance. I'll say that again, your brain takes the path of least resistance. We are naturally just lazy bums, and we are always going to take the laziest path we can possibly do and still get the same results. This is the first part of the video. We have to do all these actual steps, and like I said, your brain will give up when it cannot get the stimulation from YouTube because it's so difficult to get it. So it will just allow us to put all our focus onto the work. So now we're going to move on to the second part of this video, which is interrupting the habit process. And I remember making a video ages ago, I probably unlisted it to be honest, but basically I went into the habit process really in depth. So in Atomic Habits, James Clear basically states that there's 4 parts to building a habit. You've got the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. If we actually want to cut out YouTube from our life, we need to disrupt this habit process, and we have to disrupt our brain during the craving section, because if you can do that, if we actually get rid of the craving, we won't act on it. We won't get the result, which is like going on YouTube. And this is where we break the ankles of our own brain. Because what I've kind of realized is the craving is where most people fall victim to. And this comes from a place of lack of willpower and self-control. So like, you've probably noticed this, every single time you get an impulse to do a bad habit, you still want to do the work. You just end up saying to yourself, 5 minutes won't hurt you. 5 minutes isn't that bad. But eventually that 5 minutes turns into 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and you've just wasted all that time when you could have been working, okay? But if we actually gain access to these 2 things, we can break the habit process easily. And I know you're not going to agree with what I'm about to say. You've already tried it, you've already heard me say it millions of times, but I keep on telling you the same thing. And you probably watch my videos wondering why nothing is working, but I keep on saying the same thing over and over again. But you don't take action on it. You don't stick around for long enough to actually see the results. And thankfully, this action that you've already heard me say before only takes 5 minutes, and it levels both of these skills up rapidly. You get immense willpower and you get immense self-control, and it is meditation and mindfulness. I know before you click off, you get that urge to go and watch the next Mr. Beast video. First of all, bro, you're still stuck in YouTube jail. You haven't even solved the problem yet, so why don't you stick around? And at least let me explain. Meditation is the process of focusing on one thing at once, and this is usually the breath, for as long as possible. And the reason why I always tell you to do this action is because it improves our decision making, which prevents acting on different impulses, and it also trains our brain to focus on one thing for longer periods of work. So like, I'll give you an example. I mentioned this in the last video, but like a couple of weeks ago, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I was trying to do some deep work, and I myself got the urge to go on YouTube because it's just so much more stimulating, right? Everyone gets the urge to go on YouTube, but it's just like what they do to counter the craving. And once I got that craving, I was like, no, let's just carry on working. Let's just stay focused, and we can actually do so much more work if we just stay focused. And the reason why I broke out that like YouTube mindset, how it's so beneficial, is because I've meditated for so long, and it brings back that clarity you used to have in your life. And instead of falling into the shackles of craving, we'll regain focus and put our attention back into our work. And the way I see meditation, I know a lot of self-improvement YouTubers have the same mindset, and you've probably heard it before, but it's literally just like doing a bicep curl, because focus is literally just like a muscle. So what I want you to do, so this is kind of like your second actionable step I want you to do. So whether you're sitting on the toilet, whether you're in a bath, whether you're outside, I want you to sit straight for 5 minutes, close your eyes, and put all your attention on the breath. And every single time I lose focus, bro. Every single person that meditates loses focus, because it is normal. You're meant to lose focus, because that's exactly how we improve our focus. I said focus like millions of times in that sentence, but so every single time you lose focus, you have to put your attention back onto the breath. That is like one bicep curl for the brain. Okay, this is the second part of the video, but I'll just give you a bonus tip because I'm your Lord and Savior of productivity. I want you to just regularly check in on yourself and just ask yourself, like, what is taking up your attentional space? And I got this tip from, it's not there, it's over there because I finished it. hyperfocus. The book Hyperfocus basically says we have to constantly check in on ourselves, and we have to constantly ask ourselves what's in our attentional space, and we have to filter out the bad things that we're focusing on and put the rest of our focus back onto the big task we're trying to do. But just know this bonus tip: if you just set like a timer every single hour where a sound goes off, you'll be able to regain that consciousness where you back into the present moment and you can put your focus back onto the work. Yeah, I'll stop rambling now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to triple your productivity and get into a deep work flow like me for 6 to 8 hours a day using the same system I used and I still use every single day, click the first link in the description. Goodbye, have a nice day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, you're gonna out in this video again. Goodbye.
Wabos!